How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Donald Trump reforming the SNAP program, aka food stamps, aka a supplemental nutrition assistance program. Now, let's back up a little bit to explain how we've gotten here today, how he's going to pass these rules, regulation changes, or whatever the case may be. First of all, today is December the 20th, 2018. There's currently a $400 billion with a B farm bill being signed right now by Donald Trump. In this farm bill, the changes to SNAP were originally in it. It passed the House, but once it got to the Senate, it got stonewalled. So the current bill right now has zero changes to SNAP. So the question is, how are we going to get these rules passed? How are we going to get SNAP reform? Well, Trump is going to bypass the Congress and go straight to the USDA and have them enact new regulations that way. It's okay. It's perfectly legal. That's what we're going to do. So let's get into the laws and into the minutia of the proposed changes and also the current laws, so I can kind of compare and contrast how things are right now to how things are going to be once we get these new rules changed. First of all, the biggest thing is the whole work requirement. That's a big thing people talk about. They say, oh, you can't force people to work. You know, everybody's not able-bodied. We're talking about able-bodied adults without children mainly here. The law stands currently, if you are between the ages of 18 and 49, you're able-bodied and you have no children, you must work at least 20 hours per week to receive SNAP benefits. If you don't work 20 hours per week, you're allotted 3 months within the 3-year period to receive food stamp benefits. So basically, if you lose your job, you quit your job or whatever, and you got a little bit of time in between jobs, you're able to have 3 months total time in the 3-year period to not work and receive your food stamp benefits. States, however, have several ways to work around this. First of all, as the law currently is, if you live in a state that has over a 10% unemployment rate or a severe lack of sufficient jobs, you're able to bypass those work requirements with a waiver. So you can go to the place, like let's say you in some real poor state, you can't find a job or you don't want to work. You can go down to the welfare, apply for a waiver and be able to get it and don't work at all and just collect benefits. That's the way I read it. And if I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments below. Also, all states have up to a 15% allotment of its eligible adult workforce to issue extensions to without a waiver. So this is beyond just poverty, you can't find a job or whatever. 15% of the eligible adult workforce can get a waiver, an extension to their benefits. And on top of that, the 15% stacks if it's not used. It's like rollover minutes on your cell phone back in the day. You know, if you had 100 minutes and you only use 75 and you get it month to month, you can get another 100 minutes the next month and then you got 125 from the previous. These benefits would stack, I think, every year or two. So it will stockpile. You can use it later. Now, the changes that are proposed are, rather than the ages being between 18 and 49 for the 20-hour per week requirement, it'll be 59. So if you are an adult between the ages of 18 and 59, you must work at least 20 hours per week to get your SNAP benefits, unless other things. Let's get to the other changes. Like I said, the way it is right now, you're able to get, if you have a 10% or more state unemployment rate, you're able to get waivers. Now that's been reduced or changed to if your city or your county has 7% unemployment or more, the governor must request waivers for that particular place. And they cannot request waivers for the entire state, only for a jurisdiction that is no bigger geographically than that jurisdiction. You understand what I mean? So basically, let's say it like this. You may have one very poor city in the state that brings the entire state average down, but the whole state cannot depend upon that very poor city in order to receive the 10%. unemployment rate. It's going to be based upon your city and your county instead. Again, if I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments below. But I'm reading this right now from the Associated Press. It's a pretty decent source, if I'm not mistaken. Also, if you have children that are over the age of 6, you must go and get job training. Okay. This doesn't really apply to those who don't have kids, like I said earlier, about the 20-hour work week or whatever. As the law stands right now, if you don't have kids, you got to work at least 20 hours. If you have kids, I'm not really sure how that works out. Maybe you don't need to work or whatever it is, but you must have job training if you have kids that are over the age of 6. Obviously, kids that old will be able to go to school. Therefore, you wouldn't need to be at home watching them throughout the day. If you're at home all day on Facebook or whatever, chilling with your baby, once they get to be 6 years old, they're going to be in school. So what are you doing at home anyway? Go get job training. That's how it's going to be. And I think there's actual money earmarked for the job training, so there's no excuse. Now, of course, you already know there is going to be kickback as a result of these rule changes. People talking about you're going to have kids out there starving, parents are struggling to work and things are more expensive. But I think this is a good thing. It's not going to leave people that are actually in need out there in the cold, because the key word throughout this whole piece that I'm reading and that I've been talking about so far in the video is able-bodied adults. We ain't talking about elderly people, disabled people, people that really need the assistance are going to continue to get it. But if you are able-bodied at home, chilling, watching videos on WorldStar, playing on Facebook all day, you can go out there and do something. And I think a lot of people are being held back by their dependence upon the system. If you live in a bad state that has high unemployment, meanwhile, you got jobs all around you, you don't want them, and you're taking advantage of that system, it's causing arrested development. We don't need that in our society. We don't need a bunch of lazy people depending upon the government while the rest of the world is passing us by. China's whooping our hind parts right now. India is doing the same thing. European nations, Japan's whooping our hind parts. South Korea's whooping our hind parts. We don't need to have a lazy populace, and we can't afford that if we're going to compete globally. And regardless of whether you're trying to compete or not, what about your own self-pride, your dignity? Do you really want to be sitting on your hind parts on the dole while you do nothing, while you don't even try to improve your life? I don't think so. But this is going to be good. Job training them all with, cutting down the people that are on food stamps them all with. I know not everybody that's on food stamps is lazy, which is why I say able-bodied. If you can work, you're not disabled, you're not elderly, go out there, do something. If you have no kids, what's really your excuse? If you're 35 years old, living at home with your mom, no kids, you're not disabled in any kind of way. I see too much of that when I'm out here in the street. You go to the store, people have the whole grocery cart lit up with straight junk food on the first of the month. I know it ain't just me. All of y'all see it as well. Now, one elephant in the room is, the farmers are going to lose money. Look, man, you can't have a system that is dependent upon people that don't work, that are basically slaves to the government. Slavery is over. It's been abolished. Let's move past it and let's move forward towards productive people. So what do you think? Do you think the food stamp reform, SNAP reform, is a good thing? How do you feel about the current laws as they exist right now? How do you feel about the proposed laws? What law would you put on the books as it relates to welfare programs? Oh, one more thing I got to say. I almost forgot. The new rules also want to see what else you're using. And what I mean by that is, what other program are you using? Are you using WIC, EBT, TANF? What are you, Section 8? What are you on? Because I see too much. Again, when I'm out on these streets, people are on all kind of programs. You got child support. That's a government program right there because it's enforced by the state, but that's a different story. You got child support, WIC, EBT, TANF, SNAP, everything. So I think that all these programs should be kind of monitored, regulated, possibly drug tested. People talking about you want to have the environment safe for kids and have them be able to eat. But what if your mother is on drugs and is selling your food stamps essentially to get drugs? You got a bunch of starving kids that way too. So I think that drug testing should be mandatory. All the things that are in Trump's proposed rule changes, regulations, or whatever are needed. But whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.